This week is a short week, so I wanted to record just a quick little video on the things that are in my head and things like that that are moving forward. And then there's going to be a little bit of a gap between recording of this video and recording of the next episode. So today is Monday, December 1st. We are officially into December and we are on week seven. I had to double check that there. Week 7 of this whole journey to retire my parents before the end of 2026 from our business. But why I wanted to record today, which I don't usually record on a Monday, but this week is kind of a special week. This week, we've got a couple days of working in the business, Monday, today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. And then we get into our 2-day annual planning event for our ActionCOACH business. So we sit down with all of our clients and we go through a 2-day conference called GrowthX. Day 1 is all about learning. So continue to level up some skills going into 2026 and some things to think about within the business. So this year specifically, we've got 3 individual sessions on incorporating AI and how to use that within the business. We've got a session on finding your why, and we've got a session on scaling. So a lot of really cool things there. But taking all of this and then moving it into day 2, which is a full day of building your annual plan. After that, or rather for me, during that time, and why I'm not recording on Friday like I normally would, is I will be jumping on a plane and heading to Florida, where I'll be sitting with another group of action coaches and teaching and sharing some things that we've figured out and systemized within our business. So kind of a fun way to take all the things that we've been doing and share it with other people, just like I do here in these weekly videos. But what I wanted to actually talk about today, because I'll come back next week and I'll share all of that experience with you and some of the cool things that came out of it and all that fun stuff. But what I wanted to talk about today, because it really hit me over the last week. I love this time of year because I really start to think about what is on the horizon. What are the things that I want to accomplish? How can we start to achieve these things? I know this, I talked about this briefly in the previous video, but I sat down and I put together a template, a plan for my annual planning retreat. So for me personally, I will look at my holding company. I look at the entities that are within the holding company, ActionCOACH being one of them. And then I look at, probably most importantly, what is my personal plan with my family on what we want to accomplish this next year? And how do those other things actually allow us to achieve that personal plan goal? So I sat down and I put together kind of some different things, and I wanted to share some of these questions with you today so that as you're preparing and planning and doing the same type of stuff with your family, with your business partners, with your spouse, whatever it is for you, you can take some of these questions in the way that I've been thinking about this and ideally use that in your own life. So that's really what today's video is going to be about. And I wanted to share those with you today. So when I thought about this, as I mentioned, there's kind of the core different components. The way I look at it is up here at the top is like the family personal stuff. Like, what do I want out of life? What do my wife and I want out of life? What do we want for our kids this next year? How does this all fit together? And then there's some reflection questions, things like that I want to share. Second layer down then is going to be the holding company. So this is what I would consider our wealth company, right? It's just everything that structurally flows through as we have, different businesses or eventually real estate and different things like that. So this is going to be more like long-term strategy and how do we incorporate different things and what level of resource do we deploy within the different entities or businesses that we have. And I don't mean just like financial resource, but like time and energy resources. Additionally, are there going to be more opportunities? Are we going to look for additional acquisitions or starting a business or anything else like that in this next year? So we look at that from kind of that next layer down, the holding company side of things. And then we get into each of the individual businesses and what do we want to achieve for those? Now, some of this, like the ActionCOACH side of things, that is a joint conversation. That's not just me right now. That's me and my parents in this business. And we get to make those decisions together. We're going to look at the budget. We're going to look at the forecast, all that kind of stuff. But for my second company, Benefic Marketing, which is wholly owned by me, I get to really think about what do I want that to be this next year? It was really fun because I remember sitting down and thinking about this last year, and I went through this process and I wrote down, I just pulled out my notes, was looking at it all and realized, man, I was Right? But yet I was so wrong in how the year was going to unfold. And I had these ideas what the business was going to do and how I was going to do it, what services I was going to offer. And it's like there's a lot of the things that I actually did achieve, but I achieved them from a completely different path, which was kind of interesting to see how that can play out. But it's fun to look back and then say, knowing what I know now, how do I want to plan this for the future? What are the next big things on the horizon? And how does that funnel back up? So that's kind of the way that I think about it. And I put together kind of some questions that I wanted to share with you. So let's start with the family planning side of things. And if you have the time, like I'm going to take a couple days to go through this. And it's going to be conversations with my wife and I, and we've got some travel planned where we're going to go through this type of stuff together. But there's a couple discussion prompts that I wanted to share with you today. So please, whether it's pause this video, write them down, take them with you, because I think these are really powerful things for you to be thinking about as you plan for your next year, for 2026. So here they are. Question number 1. What do we want our life to feel like in 2026? Not just what do we want it to be like, but what do we want it to feel like in 2026? Question 2. What did we learn about ourselves this past year? It's kind of a heavy hitting question. Question number 3. What drained our energy versus what restored our energy? Allowing us to kind of think about and see what do we need to do more or less of? What do we want more of as a family would be question number 4. Question number 5 is, what do the kids need most from us as a family this next year? And question number 6, what values do we want to reinforce at home? These 6 questions really can kind of frame up not just a reflection on this last year, but how does it set the tone for everything else that we're going to do? Then we can get into more specific things. So the holding company is next on my list. And I've got a couple discussion prompts here and I'm going to share them with you. So this one has 5 total questions or prompts to discuss through. The first one is, what are the top priorities for the company in the next year? The second one is, what did we learn from last year's objectives? So actually reflecting back and saying, what did we set as the objectives here? And what did we learn from either achieving them or not achieving them or completely abandoning them? Question 3, where were we under-resourced? And this goes back to what I said earlier. It's not just financial resources, but where was the energy off? Where was the time resource off? Where were we under-resourced with regards to the objectives that we had set? Question number 4, what growth targets are realistic versus what are ideal? So let's look at those 2 things. What's the difference between the 2? And then final question for the holding company side of things. What must each of the sub entities accomplish this next year for us to achieve our goals? So kind of some fun ways to be thinking about that. From there, we can get in and ask very similar questions for each of the individual entities. And there's a whole thing on actually going into granular planning there. But I think at the end of the day, it comes back to, are we funneling this all back up into why are we here? Why are we even planning to do business in general? Why have the entity? What not just like what does the business need to accomplish, but what does the business need to accomplish so that I can live the life that I want to live, so I can be here and have purpose and enjoy and have fun with my family and do all the things that are outside of just the business itself. The business is the vehicle that gives us the opportunity to have the life that we want. So just a really hot topic for me right now. Obviously, like I said, at time of recording, this is December 1st, which leads me personally into the part of the year, the 1 month of the year that I really focus on. What do I want to accomplish? What are the things that I want to do? So hopefully you can tell from this, I'm pretty excited about it. And I'm looking forward to it. And I can't wait to see how the next couple of weeks unfold as my brain really starts to think about these things. So I will do my best to share these with you week over week as we go through. And this next week's going to be a fun one because we've got the Growth X planning session here in the next couple of days. And then I've got some travel and some experience that's out in Florida. And then we're going to come back. And then my wife and I have additional travel at the end of the month. And we're going to spend some time really thinking about these types of things. So when it comes back to systemizing and bringing this all back together and this whole plan to retire my parents in the next 13 months by the end of 2026, this has got to be a portion of that systemization. That what do I want? What does the companies want? What does the companies need? How does this all fit together? And what's our plan of attack to get there? I can't guarantee that the road that I'm on is going to lead me to exactly where I want to go. I don't know what roadblocks I'm going to run into. I don't know what hurdles I'm going to have to go in. I don't know what detours I'm going to have to make. But if I'm clear on what the objective is, I know that I have set this goal for retiring my parents in the next 13 months. There may be multiple paths to achieve that goal. I need to have clarity of what that looks like so that when I get derailed, when things happen throughout the year, because they always do. I wish it wasn't the case, but I look back at every year and it never falls exactly like I think it's going to. So when these things inevitably come up, I know that we can get back on track, or we can find a different route to the same goal. And that is the power of doing the planning. So that is my focus today. That is what I wanted to share with you. And I'm so excited to come back here in about a week and a half and sit down and record and share with you all the experience from today first through this next weekend and a few things in the next week to come. So stay tuned. Thank you for staying with me. And as always, let's continue to go build some amazing things together.